Okay, now let's start by creating a sign up and login page. So as we've done the setup, we would be continue authentication. Here we've selected the sign in method as email and password. So to sign in, a user would have to provide their email and password, and here when I set up my user, I would need the same from them. I don't need anything more from them. So to do that, let's add up a sign up page. So we already have our routers. Okay, we don't have our routers in place. Router index.js, yeah, we have a router in place, but all the routes that are here, we don't need them. What we need instead is a sign up page. So maybe I'd keep the first. So there's going to be a path, and the path would be /sign up, and the name would be sign up, and the component for it again would be of the name sign up. And then I'm going to go into views, and I'm going to create a new file called signup.view, and I can get rid of these two files that are here. Now here I'm in signup.view. I'm going to add a template here. So all my HTML looking like code, as in all of that would be on the view, is going to be in the template. For now I'm going to add a simple sign up text to see if that works. So on my route there's nothing, but if I go to sign up, alright, there's still nothing. So I'm going to app.view. What stopped working? Okay, I need to go to check where home view. Yup, I need to remove the import that is there, and then sign up is not defined is what it says. So instead I'm going to import that here. Import sign up, and yup, the default route is working. And if I go to sign up, so I'm going to do some basic change here in the layout of my application. There will be a template, and the template, instead of having any direct component within it, would point to all the router view that I'll be receiving. In short, whatever is the route, its view would be displayed here. I can have the closing within itself, and then if I go to sign up, yeah, it now shows sign up to me. So now when I go to signup.view, here is where I'm going to set up my application. So now that we are going to work on our sign up page, we would be needing two inputs. Essentially, we would be asking user for their email, and then we would be asking them for an initial password, so that the next time and every time from there, if whenever they log in, they enter their email and their password, and the same would get authenticated to verify if they are authenticated users of the application or not. So to do that, we would need two input fields, one for email and one for password, and then we would need a button that would ask them to sign up. And so to do that, we would need some components. Now there are two ways to proceed from there. Either we write our own components and style them, or we can use a components library. For the purpose of this project, wherein our focus is a chat application and not the components, I would prefer going ahead with a components library. And to do that, we would we would be using Vuetify as a component library, and now we want to install that into our application. So to do that, I would do npm I Vuetify, and that would install Vuetify for me in my application. Just make sure that you are in your repository app folder when you do that. And then once that is complete, we would move on to our app, wherein we go to main.js, and here we need to add some code. The first is we're going to import Vuetify /styles, and then second we're going to import create Vuetify from Vuetify, and I can get rid of this. And the third is import star as components from Vuetify /components. So this would get us all the components from Vuetify, and similarly we would import star as directives from Vuetify /directives. So once we've imported everything, we are going to do some changes here. So this is what creates an app, but before we have our app, we would create a const Vuetify, which would be an output from create Vuetify, wherein we pass components and directives. And then here where we're doing create React app, and to which we are passing our app, instead we would do create app, then use Vuetify. So we are basically asking our app to use Vuetify, then .mount. So I think the mounting is happening there, so I'm just going to do. And there is another way to do that. It's by app.use Vuetify. So basically we're asking our app to use Vuetify, and then we can go about using the same in our app. We can test this out by trying out one of the components, and the simplest component that we can try with is a button. So to try out a button, we write vbtn to get a button, and we would just say sign up, and yeah, I got a button that says sign up. And there are various types of button that I can have, but that we would see when we get to it. So let's get started with inputs. We need two inputs and on our sign up page. So to do that, of this, and instead we do v card, and then we want a title here, so v card title, and then the title, that is create an account. And yeah, we have a card with a title, and then we would need a subtitle, so that is, so v card subtitle, enter your email and password to create a new account. Yes, and let's give it some, so I'm again going to give it a width of 1/3 of the page and MX auto, and because I want a margin of 20 and I want nothing to override it, I'm going to add an important sign there, and I'm going to do the same with, okay, I think this padding inside, so I'm going to work with this padding for now. And then I need an input field, so to add an input field we use v input. So basically we would need 2 input fields. So v input, so because this is going to be a text input, it's going to be v text field, wherein there will be a label. So the first label is email, and we're going to mention the type as email because it's going to be an email field. And we can also have a placeholder. So I think I'd go ahead with the placeholder and skip the label because I think the placeholder is enough. And then we would need a password field. So again, v text field, type password, and then label password. Okay, so maybe replacing the placeholder with label for email too. So we have our 2 fields, one for email, another for password, and then we would, I don't want it to be occupying the kind of area that it is, so maybe getting rid of the v text and only having the fields inside a div that has a padding of 5 and important, yes, a padding of 4 should be enough too. So we have our email and password field, and now at the end we need a button, and that button would be, and then we need a button and the button would be sign up. And yeah, the button is there. I need it to have full width of the section. It has full width of the section. And now because this is going to be a primary action on this page, I would want it to look like a primary button. So we would give it a variant, and for Vuetify that variant is called elevated. So now we have a button, and now our task is to, on click of the button, we would get the email and password, and then we would have to send these information to Firebase Authentication. I can add a variant to my inputs too. I can call them outlined. Now to get the value from these things, we would have to write some script. So we would need ref from view, and then we would have two refs, one for email and the other for password, and we would pass both of them as V model. And then when the button is clicked, we would call a function called signup. So when signup is clicked, we are going to receive the email and password, and we are going to pass this information to Firebase Authentication. So coming back to the firebase.js file, we had done get auth here, and we had initialized our app here. So we would have another variable called auth, which is basically get auth, and then get auth and create user with email and password from Firebase/auth. This gives us a variable called auth. And then here in the signup function, we are going to call this function create user with email and password, wherein we are going to pass three variables: auth, the email, the password. This when returns data, it basically returns us user credentials. So we are going to get the user from these credentials in an input, and then we are going to save it in local storage. So local storage dot set item, the item is user, and we are going to save this user there. This is when it works, but if it fails, it gives us an error, and we are going to log the error code and the error message. So let's see if this works. I refresh and it fails. No Firebase app. Okay. In our Firebase, we're going to export our app from here. In fact, we can even move the authentication part here. So we can import get auth from Firebase auth and then const auth get auth, and to get auth we would need to pass our app and then we return this auth. So then what happens is, instead of getting get auth, we just import auth from Firebase and we use that as the auth directly and fail to resolve entry from package Firebase. So what we can do is inside our source folder, let's create a folder called utils and let's move firebase.js in the utils, and then here when importing we say @/utils/firebase and it did import, I think. So now let's try creating a new user and so let's get started. We would and a random password and we type sign up and it gives us an error, network request failed. I'm going to change the type of my button list. So same. Okay. Now here we need to change one thing, is that instead of passing directly the email and password, we pass the value. And we sign up and I'm not sure if it worked, so I go to my Firebase console and I refresh and it's created a new user with the ID that I had passed. So as you can see, the user identifier, it was created today, and a user code, and the provider is email. So I think our sign up worked. What we need next is a login page.